Hello then, fellow hunters. Today we talk the steel dragon, Kushala Daora, the Lord of the Winds. He is one hell of a specimen, clad in steel armor shimmering from head to toe. It's exactly as tough as it looks, and it weighs a bloody ton, but armed with one of the largest pairs of wings in all of Monster Hunter, he powers effortlessly through the air, chasing storms wherever they go, appearing in a flash and causing carnage in his wake. And most importantly, he's got an adorable little bronze-tip nose! Kushala the bronze-nosed dragon, it really is a sight to see. But before we go too far on this, let's talk about his ecology. Kushala Daora then is, well, as an elder dragon, to be respected and feared. He is fiercely intelligent, and wherever he goes, storm does reign. Whether he is the conjurer of such virulent weather, or simply its harbinger, is as of yet unknown to the guild. Does Kushala himself summon the lashing hail, pelting rain, the grey swirls consuming the very sky? Or does he simply know that in such an atmosphere, he reigns unchallenged, and as such is only brazenly in the open when he feels so secure? The latter would make sense, as of yet there has been no way to show how Kushala Daora would have such control over the environment around him. The New World complicates matters when it comes to this debate. When the brave hunters there saw Kushala Daora, they noted that strangely he was quite calm, passive almost, content to observe and wait. Unless, of course, you play his least favourite song. Whether this be a change in temperament due to perhaps a nearing of death, or the fact the rich bioenergy is keeping them somewhat placid, or a simple lack of territory to call their own and thus defend, is as of yet unknown. But it is clear, compared to the psychopathic on-site slaughter caused by the old world Kushalas, it is a stark contrast indeed. But what else is interesting is, on the Elder's Recess, Kushala Daora can be found brazenly in the open, with nary a storm cloud in sight. Is it choosing not to summon it, or is it simply a case of one not currently brewing? This is further complicated by Kushala Daora's scene in the ancient forest, where very much the trees are shaken with the gale force winds and rattled with the pelting rain boring down from the heavens. The truth then remains a mystery. Does Kushala follow the storm, or does Kushala control it? In either case, his presence is known to be an omen of a village about to be decimated by the wrath of on high. Though what he does have very much an adept surgical touch with is his mastery over the winds that gives him the Tempest of Wind moniker that even children know to be wary of. His entire body, while clad in a suit of near impervious plate, is porous, tiny little holes running through his entire system, allowing air to freely flow through him. It can then be redirected, stored in great air sacs, and redistributed and powered to his mouth, repurposed in great blasts akin to air cannons, shattering bone with the sheer force of impact, and sending hunters spiraling away, carried to their dooms upon lofty breeze. But by far his most potent weapon, forged of air, is to summon tornadoes. spinning the blast, swirling upon impact with the ground and growing as it reaches high. It turns into a vortex of destruction, whether they be colossal, designed to pen in whatever the Kushala has in its sights, making mere movement about the battlefield nigh impossible, or whether they be more directly offensive, streaking towards enemies, aiming to rip them apart with the razor winds. One thing though is for sure: never try to have a conversation near a Kushala Daora.
Hey! Can you hear me? What? You see? I'm seeing the maker of Kushala Daora in your phone! It's you, what? Oh, they're trying to kill me! How dare you? What are you saying?
But if blasts of winds and tornadoes encircling everywhere wasn't irritating enough, well, since his body is essentially a living wind machine, he can almost passively send violently quick swirls of air spiraling round him, creating an almost vortex-like shield that repels any who would come too close. From arrows bouncing harmlessly away, to hunters being flung backwards for having the audacity to stand so close to one so regal. It is an achievement for a hunter to even land a blow on Kushala Daora, let alone slay one. Fortunately then, his body structure is a double-edged dragon? Kind of works. The point is, as the breeze can so drift through, well, so can a lot of other things, namely poison, toxins, if they are introduced to his system, well, spread with rapidity and are quick to encompass his entire being. He then is betrayed by his most potent adaptation. This sends him into shock, shutting down his windy organs and having him to force all focus into repairing and surviving this biological warfare, disabling his aura of wind. Though strangely, the New World Kushala Daora are somewhat resistant to this technique. Kushalas then, their wind can also take on an icy touch, inflicting sheer cold and freezing hunters to the bones. For some, they are able to cool the air internally to add this frosty touch. Others may only do so if the environment is accommodating, for the blasts he fires very much mirror the temperature of his surroundings. There is a range of intensity to be found across individual members of the species and the terrain they inhabit, some putting hunters into a frozen prison, others simply causing them to shiver and slow. And it is not limited to ice, for Kushala's tornado will pick up that which is underneath it, and if that happens to be lava and flame, well, then you have one hell of a way to toast your marshmallows. Finally then, Kushala's favourite little trick is to take to the sky himself, kind of all the time, and hide within his tornadoes, concealing him from sight, allowing him to strike suddenly and without warning. And in the air, he truly is king, able to combat and send tumbling to ground even the Rathalos himself, with very little effort involved. If you control the currents, well, you control the sky. Outside of the kind of fatality black dragons, there is but one being who is more than a match for Kushala in the air. For hunters, though, this proves to be a slight problem. that then, though, he's no slouch in the physical, granted outmatched by the likes of Nergigante, but when it comes to non-elder dragons, only that of the likes of Rajang or Devil Joe could give him a right proper good arm wrestle. He dives and smashes and claws and aims to use the sheer bulk of his weighty casing to crush the unworthy invaders. Whatever the case, this craftsman of storm, this artisan of air, is one individualistic species, with each Kushala learning their own ways to shape the winds that they take on. You can never be quite sure just what you will be up against with every new encounter. Though there is a sad end to every Kushala's tale. As they age, their shell, which is truly an organic metal, starts to rust, turning from the grey we know into a beautiful copper. Now, grating flesh on mere contact, flakes dropping away, leaving what is essentially nails upon the ground, impaling those that standing them. This Kushala is more aggressive. It knows the time to shed its skin is near, and it knows that in this new, weightier carapace it is more vulnerable, more sluggish in its movements, and wholly unable to sneak up on potential prey, due to, well, let's just say you can kind of tell when a rusted Kushala Daora is moving around. It then will seek a secluded alcove in order to shed in peace. This process is simply beautiful. A shimmering white sight beholds any who catches this rare and precious moment. Incredibly vulnerable, their shell spending its only few moments soft before oxidation kicks in, hardening and turning it to the iron wall. It really is quite something. But this process doesn't last forever. While the Kushala Daora is long-lived, eventually they will be slain by their very protection. You see, after enough time, the steely shell starts to grow inwards, hardening the flesh underneath, spreading further and further until it claims vital organs, and the Kushala Daora slows down, and life and light leaves its eyes. What remains is an uncanny statue, an unnatural reminder of what once was. It is quite the tragic end that befalls any that manage to live this long. So that is that. I hope I didn't blow anything out of proportion. Sorry. Did that take the wind out your sails? I hate myself. I do like Kushala, though. Look, we all know what he's like to fight. We all know it can be a right experience at times, but I also do think he's one of the more badass Elder Dragons from a pure design standpoint. It helps that he is much more classically dragony than a lot of them. His form is very pleasing on the eye, the whole metal skin is real neato, and then in a vacuum very far away from me, the windy shenanigans is admittedly an awesome bit of natural weaponry. And look, fighting the steel dragon of the storm, I mean, that's quite a cracking little thing to be able to say. A metal-plated dragon known as the Tempest of Wind. Eyewitness reports say violent storms appear alongside it. Its wide range means that many towns may be decimated. It's not a bad little resume. It really, really isn't. Though I will say with Kushala, he's probably the only monster that I think potentially has a worse fight in World than in the old games. Because the thing is, in World, he does feel a kind of, wait, okay, fight, okay, wait, two-trick pony. Whereas in the old games, he spends a lot more time in the air, the wind aura is a lot more potent, poison is more prevalent to counter it fully. Otherwise, you really are going to spend a lot of time just not hitting him. But he does use his wind in, I think, a few more creative ways. Just the straight little tornadoes he blasts at you in a line add a little bit of flavor. His kind of zoning tornadoes have got a little bit more impact to them. And I don't know, I just kind of like how he flows a little bit better in the old ones. And I can't precisely put my finger on why, but it is definitely something I think I'm okay with saying. So, yeah, he is very much a mainstay now in World, and I'd love to know how you guys find him. How do you rank him compared to the other elders, either on fight or indeed just aesthetic? And do you look at him a little bit differently now that you know very much how he works? I would kind of like to see Rusted Kushala come into the new world. I think that would be cool. See one that's reaching the end of its cycle and have that fight going on just for a bit of variety, right? It wouldn't be exactly difficult to add, so if we're getting a Roshi Kirin, why the hell not? But for the most part, though, that is it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. Let me know what you'd like load up next time, and I'll see you soon. A goodbye.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.